House Farm. Today we're going to be making a small market bag, and it's going to be a patchwork market bag. And if you're not familiar with what market bags are, similar to the concept of a market basket, if you go to the market, grocery store, and you don't want to use the plastic bags, you can bring your own grocery bag. And I know you've seen them because they offer them for sale everywhere. Usually they're made out of some sort of plastic canvas like stuff, but you can bring your own. If you don't want to use that plastic canvas, you can make your own bags. This one is not a large bag. This one's probably if you're getting vegetables or some you just something smaller ingredients. It's not like one of those great big huge bags. And the reason why I'm making this is because of that situation. Usually all the big bags that you buy are big, and if you're like just running in to buy, I don't know, garlic and green onions and a tomato, you don't want to bring that huge bag, but then you also don't want to use their plastic bag all the time. So this one is a small bag. This can be folded up and you can put a rubber band around it and stick it in your purse or tote bag because it's not a huge bag and you'll always have it. It's just really convenient. So what we've got, total you're going to need 49 4x4 blocks, like little blocks here. And you can use just random fabrics, or you can do, I did sort of pinks and I did a pattern that I worked out, sort of like, and I've laid it out according to row so I can do it in order. So you're going to need 49 4x4 blocks, and I'll put all of this in the description box so you don't have to remember it all. We're going to be making 4 rows of 8 blocks, and then we're going to do 1 row of 3 blocks. That's going to be the bottom of the bag. Then we'll need 2 rows of 7 blocks, which will form our straps that will be handles that will be sewing. So approximately when this bag is done, it'll be approximately 15 inches high by 12 inches wide and 3 inches deep. So it's not a huge bag like the kind that you buy for $2 or whatever in the store. You're also going to need a piece of fabric for the liner that is 17 by 28. And that's what we'll be using for the liner. So once you get all your blocks cut, I'm going to sew it together. I marked my rows with numbers on them so I can get them in order here. I guess it really doesn't matter, but I like to work out the fabric. So it's just a simple patchwork. And we're just going to sew each piece together, and then we'll sew the rows. Some of this is obviously going to be like fast forward because you're not going to want to sit here and watch me sew 49 blocks together. Okay, that's our first row. I'm going to go quickly through and I'm going to zigzag each one just so it's stronger. You don't have to do the zigzag part if you don't want to, but for me it's worth the extra time because I'm putting groceries in this and I don't want it to rip. And take a little bit of time to do it while you're making it, and it could save you some hassle later on. Okay, now I'm going to sew the first and the second row together. So I have 2 rows, and what we've got here is it's going to connect around, and you're going to have the sides. There will be, each of these would be one side. It'll bend like this. You'll have, so the bag itself will be like 3 blocks over 12 inches. Right here, see if I can get it lined up right. So it's going to be like 3 wide, and you'll have 1 row on each side will be the side of the bag. But we'll see that when we get there. So there we have 2 rows done, and I'm going to go ahead and do the other 2 rows, and then I'll come back when we're doing the bottom, and then I'll show you how we're going to put it all together, and then we're also going to attach the lining. Okay, now we'll do the bottom, and it's just 3 blocks. Okay, when sewing your bottom of the bag onto your bag, you're going to move, so we've done 4 rows of 8 blocks, and they're all joined together now. So I'm going to line up the 3 blocks that are at the bottom. The second, so here's my last row, and here's my first block. This is my second block on my last row. Because when we side of it, the front and the back of the bag are going to be 3 rows long, and then it's going to join. Another row will be this the right side and the left side. It's just going to form like a rectangle. So line that up with your second block on the last row, and it's going to span 3 blocks here. Now before I go iron this, I'm going to do the handles. So this is what you have now. You have has the 4 rows of 8 blocks, and then we have the little like tail down there, and that's going to be the bottom of the bag. So this is what the piece we have right now. So I'm going to lay this over here for a minute. Now we're going to do the 2 handles. And the handles, now you can adjust this length if you don't like it, and I actually did it thinking I might shorten it. We'll see when I get it done how I like it. I wanted to have enough room to hang over my arm or a bicycle or whatever. We're gonna have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 blocks, 4-inch blocks, just like so it's like one shorter than the other row. And we're going to do the same thing, and then we're going to fold these in half. So let's sew these rows. Alright, now I have the 2 straps. Okay, and I'm going to cut 2 strips of fabric about half the 2 inches wide and the same length to fit inside of these to make them stronger. Alright, so I cut 2 strips of fabric about half the width, and when I go, what I'm going to do is put these in here. I'm going to iron it together, and I'm going to pin the edges together, and I'll show you while we're doing that, and then we're going to top stitch those handles, and then we'll decide how long we want them. I'm going to go hit everything with an iron, the inside lining fabric, the patchwork fabric that we just sewed, and the handles. I'm also going to show you how to pin the handles while we're on the ironing board, and then we'll come back and we'll sew the whole bag together. Okay, for starters, I'm going to iron the patchwork top that we did. And then we have the lining fabric that will be on the inside. I'm just going to sort of line up. We will have to, I'm going to pin it, but we will have to open up parts of the top to put the handles in. This over here. Now for the handles, so I'm going to iron each strip. Alright, and we have the strips of fabric that I cut just from scrap fabric there, and I cut them a little bit longer, so I'll probably have to cut them off a little bit. And I'm going to cut it a little narrower, approximately 2 inches, 1.5 inches. This is just, I guess it's not absolutely necessary, but this is to make the handle stronger, since it's a patchwork piece and you want it to be as strong as possible. So what I'm going to do is fold over the edge just by about 1/8 of an inch, and I'm going to iron that just to help pin it down. Let's do the other one. Alright, now let's go sew the straps, and then we'll come back and we'll position them on the bag, and then we'll sew that part together before we go. So we're going to sew the straps, and we're going to top stitch the straps. We're going to sew the lining bag, and we're going to sew the outside patchwork bag. We're going to insert the straps where we want them, and then we will sew that all together inside out, and then we'll pull it through a hole, and it will be right side out at that point. So first of all, let's sew these straps. It's going to be the first one we're going to do is the side that has the open side, and then we're just going to top stitch the other side just so they match. And you definitely want to iron all of this while you're doing it. It will just make your sewing so much easier. And just make sure that you got all of the edges in there. Then flip it over to the opposite side, and you're just gonna, this is basically decorative and for strength. Alright, we have 2 straps now. Okay, now for our bag. First thing we want to do on the patchwork one, we want to sew, we have our little tail thing. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 that side, and we have the little tail down here. We're not doing anything with it right now, so you're just sewing these together right now. So we have a tube right now. Tube. So you should have a tube, and then you have like the little flap down there of the 3 on the bottom. So what are we going to do with that? If you see, it matches. Here's the little flappy dilly, and right above it you have a block. So just line that up with the block, and this is going to be the 2 corners, the bottom corners. Now, you can see the square happening here. So now I'm just going to line it up with the 3 blocks that are, you'll see they're right on the side of it now. I'm going to sew that. Normally I would just keep on sewing, but I want to show you what's going on here. Okay, so what do we have? We have, so this is the bottom of the bag. So we've gone and done that, and now we have this little opening here, and we're going to line up. I'm going to do a little bit of fold in here. Line up those blocks, and you're going to sew across. All right. Strings, strings. So we have a bag, the square bottom. Okay, let's set that one over here. Forgot to mention that when I should have laid my patchwork piece on top of this and then cut it to match, but I forgot to do that. So I'm gonna have to do some improvising real quick here. How am I improvising, you say? So I know that I had blocks here, so this was like the 2nd row. Remember, we lined up our bottom 3 starting with the 2nd one on the last row. So I'm just using some extra blocks here so I know where to cut, and I'm just going to cut out this square. And then I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to cut this square. Okay, so now I know that's where my tail was. Alright, over here, and cut this strip off too. So let's see how much it would have been so much easier if I would have just traced around my patchwork, but I forgot to do that, so this is what I'm having to do. So you should definitely trace around. Okay, so back to this bag, and we're going to do the same thing we did over there. Gonna sew our bag together. This is the inside lining, and my bottom was a little not square, but that's okay. All right, so we got the inside lining of the bag and the outside lining of the bag. And first of all, we're going to line them up, and then we're going to pin them. Then we're going to insert our straps where we want them. All right, so you're going to do it. You're looking at it's inside out bag and inside out bag, and we're going to sew them at the top. When we pull them right side out, we're going to leave a hole. When we pull them right side out through that hole, the liner will tuck right down into the bag. So it looks weird right now, but it will work. So right now I'm just going to align my side seam with the one side seam here. And I'm going to pin it all together, and then we'll figure out where we want to put our handles, and then we'll insert those. So we might have to undo a pin or two here. And don't worry about your hole or anything right now. We're not sewing anything right now, so all we're doing is pinning currently. So pins can be removed. So just go ahead and just pin it around so we can get the whole construction visualized in our head, and then we'll remove whatever pins are necessary in order to sew things. Okay, let's assume these three here are the front of the bag. We have two handles here, and they're going to go, we have to tuck them onto the inside of the bag, and we'll just be looking at the two ends here. So I think I can just stick mine right through here. Hook it around, back out through this hole, poke this all the way in there. Alright, I'm going to unpin one pin so I can look and see what's going on in there. Okay, so I want to make sure my handle I'm going to position it on each side of this, of the middle square is what I'm going to do. Okay, and then I'm going to pin through the handle. Now let me measure and make sure I have the same amount of tail sticking out here. 1 inch, 1 inch. Okay, so that's that, and let me put a pin back in the center. Okay, so that's one. Alright, what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose this darker block here to be the place that I don't sew. Why am I doing that? That's where we're going to turn this whole thing inside out. Back right side out through this hole. See, if you see in there, you can see that the bag is the right side out inside. So I'm going to sew all the way around the top and zigzag, and then we're going to reach inside and we're going to pull the whole thing right side out. I'm looking for any kind of loose strings. This is your last opportunity to cut strings or anything weird that you see on the inside. Right, so starting at the square that we don't want to sew, I'm going to leave that square open. So you're going to sew right through that strap. Try to keep things nice and flat while you're sewing so you don't sew things together that you don't want to sew together, like the end of the bag or something that got in the way. Okay, so we have this weird bag thing here, and you can see where our straps are sticking through. And here's our hole. So we want to reach in. I'm just going to start with the liner because it's all one piece and it's probably going to be easier to just grab hold of. Grab hold of it, just pull it through that hole. So now we have this weird bag thing with a bag thing and the straps. Now take your liner, shove it down in that bag. Put it on the sides, give it a good shake to get it all down in there. So now we have the liner inside, and it's the right side out because the way we did it. All right, so now here's my handles. Now what I want to do is go around and top stitch the top, and as I do that, I'm also going to be folding in the edge of the one block that we didn't sew and closing that up. And then we'll go iron the whole bag and we'll take a look at it. This edge in, I'm going to pin it. I'm going to go hit this with an iron really quick and then I'll be right back. Okay, we're going to do our top stitching. And I'm going to start right here by this handle. That's just where I'm choosing to start. And I'm going to sew close that opening. I ironed the top, ironed the opening down. Some of this top stitching is for decoration, but some of it is for strength and to keep that liner and everything all where we want it here. One other thing I'm going to do, right where the strap is, and you may have seen this on tote bags and stuff, I'm going to sew a little rectangle and an X. And what this is going to do is just going to provide extra strength for your handle. Try to keep it from ripping out. I'm going to do that on each of the handles. And this is a completely extra thing. And you don't have to do it, but it gives that extra source of strength there for your strap and handle so it doesn't rip out of the fabric. So here is our market bag, and you can see it's not huge, but it's big enough to put shopping in. We've reinforced our handles. We have the lining inside, the corners, the four corners. Cute bag, and it folds up well, and you can, like I said, put a rubber band or something around it, and you've got it would store well wherever you're putting it, your backpack or your purse or your briefcase or wherever you want. And it gives you an extra bag, especially for you people that live out. If you live more in an urban area, you might be watching this not because it's a homesteading channel, but because it's a sewing project. And you might not always know you're going to the store, or you might be riding a bus or a subway or something, and you need something after work, but you don't want to carry a bag around. So you can fold it up, stick it in your bag, and then you can pull it out and put your groceries in it and carry it home. That's our bag, and it was a fun project. And one of my other videos was talking about when I organized these threads and the cool little things that I bought at the antique store. I got all that up, and then, like I said in the one video, I realized I had too much thread. So I ordered one more, because I was going to put this is all my silk threads. These are all silk. And so these I use for sewing my doll clothes, the vintage doll clothes and stuff, and more, I also use them for handwork too. They're the silk threads. I use them for embroidery. Mostly that's what I use them for. But I've also used them for buttons and stuff for my dolls. So that's all silk. So that was my plan. So I ordered that one. I had that one. And then I was going to order that one. This was still all in a can, but I was like, okay, whatever, because most of these are almost empty. So I was just going to leave them in a can. But then there was a big snafu with Walmart, and they sent me 2, and then they charged me for 3. It was a mess. Anyway, I ended up just telling them to refund the one that I never got, and I didn't order. I only ordered 1, so I don't know what happened. But anyway, so I ended up with 2, which I needed 2 anyway. All of my thread fit on these 3, except for I have a can that just had a few odds and ends stuff in there that were some of the cones. Some things were weird and didn't fit in there anyway. And as I use some of these up, I'll just move some of those other weird ones in. These probably won't get used up as much because those are my, but these are my ones that I use for everything. So it was cool to get it all organized, and I can see everything. Like I said in the one video, I'm trying to go vertical instead of baskets and buckets and stuff of everything. And this is all crooked because I have scoliosis and I have steel rods in my back and a big spinal fusion and everything. And my whole body is like crooked. So whenever I hang pictures on the wall, everything has this slant because everything is crooked. I mean, I guess my head is on crooked and everything. I mean, I see everything. Everything gets the slant, and it drives Chris nuts. So he's the picture hanger around here. Otherwise, it's all going to be like... so yeah, that's why everything has that same slant to it there. But I went ahead and just put these in with screws. I sort of hated to do that, but it just seemed like the wisest thing to do. This one has a hook, and so, but anyway, so that was all my little organization, and I'm real happy with my little getting my thread up there finally. I don't know why I didn't think about doing that like a few years ago, but took me a while to figure out what to do and to do it. So that's all done. So anyway, so that market bag, I hope you enjoyed this project. I'll talk to you next time. Canterbury Trails Farm. Bye!